So I'm here with my sweet friend, Rebecca, who I also get to work with inside of her home. And we were doing some work inside of her closet a few weeks ago. And I'm going to sort of bring in some questions so we can talk a little bit about what her realizations were that she told me maybe 2 weeks after we did the work. And I said, oh, I want to get that on video. So that's what we're doing here today. So Rebecca, I just want to ask a little bit about who you were 10 years ago.
10 years ago. So my life 10 years ago would have been no husband, no children,
Okay.
which I have now. So as the reference, 10 years ago, which would have put me in my early 30s, I was very focused on work.
Mm-hmm.
I was very focused on my career. It was priority number one in my life. Some dating on the side, but I was very focused on my work. I was out and about a lot, going around town, going out, having fun. Also overly concerned about how I looked or how I was, really in the mind of striving and go-getter, yeah.
And so when you met your fella, did you think you were going to get married? Was that in your wheelhouse at that point since you were so focused on career?
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted it all.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I think a lot of people
didn't
do.
At the time, and I don't think having one precludes the other, but at the time it was like, that felt like the next step in my journey. And I definitely was looking to get married when I met him, or looking for a long-term partner.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I'd been through enough relationships that I was ready to find the one.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to have kids. I didn't know what having kids entailed at that time. I think few people do.
Yeah, right.
And I love them tremendously. But I did want to check all those boxes, but I was really in a very different space then.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so you got married.
Mm-hmm.
You just had your second child 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Two babies. And so when we went into your closet that day, and I had been in your house, I think at that point, probably a year, and you just were pretty much like, I feel so overwhelmed by my closet.
Yeah.
What was overwhelming to you? What was creating that overwhelm?
So, yeah, and we had been in that house for a bit more than a year, but I had worked with you previously in our previous house,
Right.
just to say.
Right.
What felt so overwhelming, first of all, just the sheer amount of clothes and things that I had from years of not going through them. Far more than that, what I realized was that all of the clothes in there, hanging beautifully in a big, gorgeous closet, were relics of a past that I no longer inhabited. And I had brought them, from previous house to the new house. I think when I first met you, you came in our closet in the previous house, and I had just had the first baby.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, let's not go through the closet. All these clothes, once I get back into work, these are all going to fit me again someday.
Right.
Once my baby belly shrinks
Right.
and, I lose the baby weight, and they're all going to fit me, and I'm going to go back to that life. And it was a set of expensive, beautiful clothes that I had worn in my profession, traveled the world in for big events and corporate shindigs here and there. And I thought, well, I'll be getting back into those soon.
Right. And the size, smaller than you were.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what I had come to realize, and even after the second baby, I was like, oh, let's just put these clothes here. Let's hang all these beautiful clothes up. I'll be back in them in no time. Meanwhile, I had had two babies, come into my 40s, and having babies changed my body a lot. And it wasn't just like some weight gain, which I've had, not like tremendous amounts, but I'm a pretty petite person, so even a few pounds will change the size. But but even just the shape of my body has changed, and the style that I want to wear and the person I want to present in the world has changed. And I realized, it took me some time to realize this, but I realized that all of my beautiful clothes from the past, from a different body, a different career, a different life, were taking up all the space in my closet. And meanwhile, the new things I had bought to just put on, these old rags that I had bought to just get dressed every day since I had this new reality, were being shoved in the corner.
Right.
They're being shoved in these little shelves. There's no space for them to exist. And I realized every time I walked in there, I felt all this sadness. And one day it kind of dawned on me oh my God, I am not giving space. I have this gorgeous closet that people would just any woman would love that closet.
It's gorgeous.
It's huge and gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
And yet here I am not making space for myself in my own life.
And is that because you were waiting to get back to the past, do you think?
Yeah. I hadn't realized that I wasn't going back.
Right.
And it's not a bad thing either. But it had took me that long to realize that having children fundamentally changed who I am in a good way. But there's not that you like give up everything from your previous life, that something fundamental about that woman had died, was gone, and that I hadn't yet embraced the new person that I was, and like really given her a space to shine. And I don't mean to make this all you might think, oh, they're just clothes. What are you talking about? But it's like, it really held meaning for me, especially as I started going through them, remembering, oh yeah, I wore this beautiful outfit when I was, in Greece, blah, blah, some business thing, or I wore this one when I was doing this tour or something. There are so many memories encapsulated in them.
I remember when we were going through it, you were talking a lot about the identity of your career. I don't know if I'm going to get back to that. I'm not sure if I'm going to. And identifying whether or not these would be the clothes that you would have chosen to go back into in the future.
Yeah.
We're all holding, I know I'm holding my whole range, of all the sizes, because I go really high and really low.
Yeah.
And there's always that thought of, am I going to really want all the clothes from 7 years ago that I fit into when I was a 4?
Yeah. But
I'm holding on because this 4 is so interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was holding in my closet size 0s and 2s, which size 0, 2s, 4s, 6s, 8s.
Oh yeah, I got the range up to 16.
Everything in there, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No, this is life. But I think
it's life, especially and I needed that range through pregnancy and postpartum, and But there also came a point where holding on to was not serving. It wasn't giving space for what's real in my life now, which is that I don't want to wear dry clean only clothes like I did to the office when I'm hanging out with toddlers who are going to wipe, there's a practicality here. That's like, there's a fundamental identity change for me when I had kids. And it doesn't mean like not going back to the work that I did or that job, but it's just acknowledging that there was a fundamental change, and the clothes represented that. And I think I'm taking a career hiatus now as I focus on the kids and the needs that they had that were more than we had anticipated, to say the least. But as I re-enter work, I will be going in as a new woman. There's just something that childbirth and everything that my husband and I went through with our girls, and it just fundamentally changes your soul.
Yeah.
And becoming a mother, it did for me. Sure. I can't imagine how it wouldn't.
Right.
And so as I re-enter work and I start to pick out new clothes or whatever, I want to pick something that really reflects who I am now. And I don't know entirely what that looks like now. But now there's space now to let it develop, instead of thinking that future has to fit into this box of the past.
God, so
whether it's the
said.
Identity box or the size box, I need to be a size 0 or I can't, which sounds petty, but it's all wrapped into a deeper heart,
I felt like there was a lot of pressure inside of that. I got to get back there someday. And it was really almost fueling this internalized dialogue of someday you got to get back into these clothes because we have them.
Yeah.
Because they're hanging here.
So much.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're hanging here. And you're right, that's exactly what it was. So much pressure.
Yeah. And
that the way forward is to craft myself back into that, on all the levels. But I think in it, and this is where it just gets the pragmatism of it all meets the depth, the real heart of it, is that when I removed the old clothes, it gave me this energetic freedom to feel, oh, there's space for me to figure out who I am now.
Right.
There's space for that.
And when you told me that, I'm like, let's get this on video.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have expected that. I wouldn't have, but it was so profound when you spoke about it, and your energy was so lit up about the closet in comparison to what it was when we were doing the work inside of it. Oh my gosh.
No, I mean, I was just crying. So I was like, oh, I can actually give space and time to see who emerges now.
Yeah, beautiful.
Now that
So
we've been
pretty.
through all the, all these things of having children and the challenges that our family went through, and there's space for that. And I don't know who that's going to be yet. I don't know what's going to emerge, but I'm so glad that there is actual space to let it emerge without the pressure of having to fit the mold of the past.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful to you for that, because you not only gave me the logistical support in making that happen, but the emotional support in going through my process. I didn't want to let go of a lot of that shit. Right. It like held deep memories and meanings. And then, but it was such a bittersweet moment to be like, wow, I'm actually turning a page here and I am finding someone new.
Beautifully said. And so since we've done the work, when you walk into the closet, what if any emotions come up or sensations?
Oh, I just feel, I feel so much less stress. Just like a baseline of sort of pressure and anxiety that I probably didn't even realize was there a lot of the times was there. She's gone. Like that there's a breath that can happen now. Oh, this is my closet. This is who I am. This is a closet of a mid-40s mom who, had a professional career and has children and has date nights to go on and has fancy parties and has sweatpant play dates. And it's like, it's me. It's my life now, and it wasn't my life before I got rid of all the junk.
Right. So interesting.
So, yeah.
Do you have any fear? Does any fear show up about as you move towards a new identity? Does that create fear?
Yeah.
It does.
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on the space I'm in, but what's the unknown, right?
100%. Yes.
I would say
Agreed.
It's much more excitement and curiosity than fear.
Mm-hmm.
But the fear can sneak in there of like, oh, how's it gonna be? Is it gonna be, is it gonna fulfill all the desires of my heart? Whatever emerges next. Like, can I actually have it all? I think is the fear that comes up. Can I have the family that I want and be the mom I want to be? Also have the kind of career I want. All those things are all wrapped up in the clothes. It's funny, but it is, so I think that's the fear is like, will all of this be possible? And who am I going to be as I step into that? And yet I feel much less fear having the old things gone, the old objects, the old clothes gone. Because that fear of wondering how on earth I was going to fit back into that mold, that's way more scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So much more pressurized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it like, it's sort of just a neat topic to think about our own self-perception of ourselves and identity.
Yeah.
Like utilizing clothing, hair, makeup, career as to what defines us.
Right.
It's sort of weirdly spooky when you sort of dissect
spooky.
it a little bit. Like, why is it that we think that that's how we need to define ourselves?
Yeah, I know.
But it's very societally based. But anyway, it is what it is, and that's how we do, for sure. But it would be lovely to create a new paradigm around that.
Yes, I mean, completely. Like, it shouldn't hold such meaning. And yet, in our society as a woman, like, I wouldn't have even admitted this to myself, and certainly not on camera, like, many years ago, that, like, my clothes were holding on this meaning. I'm like, no, they are not. Are you kidding me? But I think, I realized it kind of in hindsight, in, like, letting the old stuff go, how much emotional weight was being carried with them as well, Yeah.
Do you think you have other places in your life inside of your home that could also be applied to?
Oh gosh, I mean, that's so interesting.
I'm trying to think for myself. I think definitely yes for myself. Oh, I know. I just got rid of last summer an exorbitant amount of tiling because I thought I was going to be a mosaic artist.
Yeah.
Legitimate. I mean,
that's a great.
You would have thought I was with how much stuff I had for it. But I finally got rid of it after 17 years of holding it in the shed.
Yeah.
To a point of, I'm really not doing this.
Yeah.
But I had that expectation and that intention to do so.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I watch a lot of clients hold on to things out of intention.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I think you've helped me with that. Like, I know when we met, I had far more books than I do now. Because of my intention to read them.
Oh, right.
And also my intention to be someone who had a very well thought out library or something. It's like, no, is that actually what I'm wanting in my life?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. So I have far fewer books now than I did.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder where else
Nothing's coming to mind when I think of your house.
I mean, you've helped us so much with getting rid of stuff.
Your Burning Man stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll use your Burning Man stuff again?
God. Is my husband going to watch this? No, I mean, no, we had a great time, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Me personally, would I go just solo? No. Yeah. But my husband loves it. Yeah. And I know he'd like to go. Yeah. And I'd like to go with him because it's important to him, and like to just show up for him.
You went once, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. But he's been many times.
7, 8, 9 times, something like that.
Yeah.
So I imagine that we will probably go again someday. Once the kids are a lot older. Yeah. And I'll, show up for him in that way and have a great time. Yeah. But it wouldn't be top on my priority list of like places to go, but then I'll drag him somewhere fun with me.
Well, the reason I say Burning Man is just because there's box after box after box after box, like that's sort of a category.
Most of it's his. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. A category that might have shown up in your life, but will it show up again is a question. Yeah. And then, is that stuff going to be appropriate for the 7 years or 10-year hiatus?
That's the thing. I mean, the stuff in that box, like,
who knows,
that's
right?
going to fit me either. Yeah. Pretty little.
Brand new costumes. That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing all that. Yeah. That was really, really cool. Yeah. I'm so glad. I would have not have guessed that you had such a transformation around some of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that either. I mean, it seems like okay, clothes in the closet. Sure. Get rid of them. They're taking space. Okay. But there was a depth of emotion that came with it that was surprising to me and really impactful. Yeah. In terms of like my journey of figuring out where I'm going to go next, and also that it's okay to kind of unravel a bit and sit in the not knowing of what's next.
Right. Yeah, a lot of freedom. You gave permission of freedom to have it go in new and circuitous ways, with everything, style, sizing, all of it. It's just, what's nice is it's so open-ended. Yeah. That's beautiful. It was such a self-love gift.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something else that you helped us with. I think that when we did our kitchen, we moved into our house and you came to the kitchen and we got rid of a lot of some cooking stuff that wasn't needed. And I think we still have like a great fully stocked kitchen full of everything you could ever need to cook. And we like to host, so we have a lot of like hosting dishes that we don't use often, but are important to have around for like those moments when we have a big party or something. But I am really grateful that we just had too much of it. And I think, like you said with the tile, I think I've had this fantasy that someday I was going to be this, really great chef and just be like, whipping up a storm in the kitchen. And I like to cook, but it's not going to be like, if I'm honest with myself, like you were about the tile, that's not like the next iteration of my life. Like I'm going to cook dinner for my family and my kids and like, You're not
going to be making sauces.
I'm not going to be
on the side. Yeah.
Doing like souffle for,
Sure.
So that was relieving in that way too.
Yeah. And relieving in ways that on so many different levels, to not have a cramped space offers relief so that you're not having to dig underneath things to get things. And then relief of the space itself feels more spacious. Yeah. And less constricting in, again, a ton of ways.
Oh, I mean, it actually is like a body breath for me. Walking in a room where there's not clutter and not junk and not piles of things left undone, that I can just it really has a visceral impact on my stress level. Like how deeply I can breathe if I walk into my kitchen and there's not just like stuff everywhere that just reminds me of what I didn't get to. Right.
Have you always been like that? Are you watching that change in your life with more humans coming into it?
I think that I have always probably craved a clean and organized space like that, but it wasn't something I knew about myself. I didn't give myself time or permission to create it. Like I would be so busy at work that all the things would just pile up on the desk and be like, no, I'm just focused. I don't have time to like deal with this or clean this, that like half sandwich is just going to sit there and this, pile is going to grow. And my desk was always pretty cluttered of just stuff because I was so busy.
Right.
And I'm uncovering like through working with you, how much I love it clean. I did not realize how stressful it was. And now if there's like too much clutter on the kitchen, I'm like, okay, everything has to stop and we're going to clean this first.
Right.
So it's something I'm learning about myself and I'm so grateful because it's like really helped calm my nervous system to have less shit.
Right. I think a lot of people don't recognize that the clutter is impacting them in a negative way. And oftentimes people can just sort of glaze out and not see it anymore. But I remember doing a trauma course 2 years ago, and the exercise in that moment was to just look around your surroundings. We were all on a Zoom call, and you can see everyone sort of looking at their stuff, and I'm looking at my stuff. And there were some people that you could see that they were sitting inside of rooms that were piled and piled. And so many of the people that came back after the exercise said, I was unaware how much this stresses me out.
Yeah.
But every time my eyes landed on another pile, I felt myself get more anxious. And I think a lot of people are not aware of how it impacts us.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people have I didn't.
Yeah.
I had no idea how much it was impacting me.
Yeah.
And this is a good story to show what we're talking about here. I think I've maybe told you the story before.
I don't know.
But of Matthias in the closet, my husband.
Oh, well, yeah. This is one. I love this one.
Where when we first started dating, I was trying to think of something very creative to do for him for a Christmas present. And he was a bachelor, and he had a very cute house that was, mostly pretty neat and a nice house. But in the basement was the laundry room, and the laundry room was a disaster. It had just piles of clothes everywhere. And upstairs, his closet was empty. So all the clothes were kept in the laundry room, and there were just piles everywhere. Mm. And I went down there and I was like, sweetie, like, what? Tell me about all the piles. Like, can I help you take these up to the closet? And he's like, no. It makes no sense to put them in the closet when this is where you wash them. So I just take, it's like a very bachelor kind of thing to do, it seems. But so there's like a pile of clean clothes. He's like, well, that pile's clean, and that pile's dirty, and that pile's like, I'm not sure. Maybe clean, maybe dirty, not sure. That pile could probably go again. Like it was. And he's like, no, this is my system and it totally works. And I was suspicious. Is this totally working? He was like, no, it totally works. And I saw an ironing board up. I was like, well, what's the ironing board for? And he's like, well, because I just put things in piles and don't hang or fold anything, they're always wrinkly. So I actually iron them. And I was like, well, good on him that he's actually ironing his clothes, but he had to iron his clothes every day. Right. They're all piled up. And so I took a big risk because as, just a girlfriend, like you don't necessarily want to mess with people's shit without their permission.
I highly say yes to that thought process.
Like, I don't know that it's a good idea for everyone.
Right, totally.
But I also just saw something in him. I just knew his heart, Mm-hmm. And so one day when he went to work, I took the day off work unbeknownst to him. I had contractors lined up, guys literally waiting in pickup trucks around the corner for him to leave.
So awesome.
They come into the house as soon as he's gone, and we remove all the clothes. They installed shelves and like bars to actually build a closet in its unfinished basement. Actually, finished part of it. Installed shelves and bars and a full-length mirror and a huge rug to cover the, cement floor in his basement, and found a whole space for his ironing board. I washed all the clothes, even the clean pile.
Right.
Hung them all up in color coordinated order. It looks beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
And look, I'm not like an organizer like you. I just saw like someone's got to do something about this.
Yeah,
and
it's a new system. It's a beautiful new system.
Yeah. And I made it in the basement so he didn't have to take everything up to his closet, but I just turned the basement into this huge walk-in closet.
So smart.
And then I put twinkle lights everywhere because, he likes Burning Man. So I hung up all his like hats and costumes and stuff with twinkle lights on the like upper shelf. So they were kind of,
displayed.
Pretty. Yeah.
That's good.
Displayed and nice. And so then he comes home that night and had all the lights off in the house except for a candle lit in the stairwell to go downstairs. And he's like, what's going on? I was like, follow the light.
So good.
Anyway, so he kind of follows the candles down the stairs. And he walked in, and I've just never, it was just like, and I just looked at him and he could not even speak. And then he just got tears and tears just flowed down. And this is a guy I had never seen cry. And I've, now been with him for almost 9 years, and I can still count on one, maybe two hands how many times he's cried. Sure. But oh my gosh, just tears. And he said that the only words he could really find, he said, you gave me something I didn't know I needed.
Well said. Ooh, so well said.
And that was it. And it was just really sweet.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story.
So it just shows that like even when you really don't think you need it.
Totally.
Like it just went straight to the heart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's why he married me.
And she didn't throw any of his clothes out, ladies.
No.
Nothing left.
No, nothing leaves. Nothing leaves. No, you don't want to do that.
Don't do that.
I was tempted.
I know. Everyone is. Well,
but no.
I totally want to appreciate it. I want to keep an eye on the time because I think it's time.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, no, we got a few. We can go a few more.
Oh, okay, great.
But because I wanted to say, too, just before we stop the cameras here, I think one of the huge keys to making this work is that you do it without judgment. And that is what I learned from you.
Yeah.
Because every time you've been in our home, you do not bring judgment. And I'm so grateful.
Oh, sweet.
There's never a hint of like, why are you hanging on to this thing? Or like, why is this a big deal? You know, oh, you're crying. No, there's none of that. And I really appreciate that. And I don't think you can do personal journey. If there's any judgment, you're just going to shut off the deeper the emotions that are trying to arise through the process.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You're just going to shove that shit away if you're feeling someone's judging you.
Right.
You know?
Go into protective mode. Yeah. And the second you step into protection, then there's no room for more self-inquiry.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what that's what we do a lot. That's what I get to do a lot, people, which is really fun, is to just keep asking questions. Questions that I'm curious about, but also questions that I want you to find the answer for as well for you. Like, what is it that's important about this?
Yeah.
And it's not so much what brings me joy, but why is this important to keep?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it can bring joy.